This video tutorial will teach you how to make this gift Easter egg. First, let's crochet the main body, which is the egg part, then crochet the bolt node on it. Finally, we'll assemble them together. Now this video will teach you how to crochet the main body of this gift egg. First, work a magic ring. Wrap the yarn around your little finger. Then braid it to your index finger. Make a loop around your middle finger. Pinch where the line crosses with your thumb and middle finger. Insert a hook into a loop on your middle finger. Yarn around the hook. Put a yarn steel loop on the hook. There is one loop on the hook. Yarn around the hook. Put a yarn steel loop on the hook. The magic ring is done. Now let's start making round 1. In round 1, we need to work 6 single crochets. Insert a hook into a loop on your middle finger. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put yarn to both loops on the hook. A single crochet is done. Let's zoom in. The V shape is a stitch. Place a marker on the both strands of the V. This is where we insert a hook to start the next round. The second single crochet, insert a hook into a loop on your middle finger. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put yarn steel loops on the hook. The second single crochet is done. The third one, insert a hook into a loop on your middle finger. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put yarn to both loops on the hook. 3 single crochets are done. Continue work remaining 3 single crochets in the same way. The 4th single crochet. The 5th single crochet. The 6th single crochet. Six single crochets are done. Now let's see it. The V shape is a stitch. Let's count the number of stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 single crochets. Now put your tail to close the ring. Put your yarn hard until it can't be pulled. We need to make slip stitches and chains to join the round. Now work slip stitch and mark the stitch to join the circle together. Remove the marker. Insert a hook into the stitch. Hide the yarn tail by putting it on top of the hook. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the first loop and pull it through a second loop. Put the yarn hard. A slip stitch is done. Round 1 is finished. Now let's start making round 2. First, work a chain. Yarn around the hook and put your steel loop on the hook. Tighten it, a chain is done. The slip stitch and chain doesn't count as stitch. In round 2, we need to work 6 increases. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. The first increase, and we'll change yarns at the last stitch. Insert a hook in the first stitch. Work a single crochet first. A single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. And remember to do that on the first stitch of every round. Then insert a hook into the same stitch and work another single crochet. An increase is done. The second increase, insert a hook into the next stitch. Work a single crochet first. A single crochet is done. Then work another single crochet in the same stitch. The second increase is done. The third increase, insert a hook into the next stitch. Work a single crochet first. A single crochet is done. Then work another single crochet in the same stitch. The third increase is done. Continue work remaining 3 increases in the same way. The fourth increase. The fifth increase. The sixth increase. Six increases are done. Stop when there are 2 loops on the hook. Now we'll change yarns. Wrap the pink yarn around your left hand. Leave long yarn tail. Put a yarn on the back of the fabric. Pinch it with your thumb and middle finger. Yarn around the hook. This pink yarn. Put a yarn steel loop on the hook. The yarn is changed. The sixth increase is done. Now work slip stitch and mark the stitch join the circle together. Remove the marker. Insert a hook into the stitch. Put a yarn tail on the hook to conceal it while crocheting. Hook the yarn in the pullable loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the first loop and pull it through the second loop. Put a yarn hard. A slip stitch is done. Round 2 is finished. Now let's start making round 3. First, work a chain. Yarn around the hook and put a yarn steel loop on the hook. Put a yarn hard. A chain is done. In round 3, we need to repeat a set of 1 single crochets, 1 increase for 6 times. The first set. First, work 3 single crochets. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Then work an increase. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. An increase is done. The first set is done. The second set, first work a single crochet. Then work an increase. The second set is done. Hide the yarn tail. Organize it. The third set, first work a single crochet. Then work an increase. The third set is done. Continue work remaining 3 sets in the same way. The fourth set. The fifth set. The sixth set. Stop when there are 2 loops on the hook. Now we will change yarns. Pull this yarn out and wrap it around your left hand. Like this. Yarn around the hook. And put yarns to both loops on the hook. The yarn is changed. The 6th set is done. Now work slip stitch and mark the stitch. Remove the marker. Insert a hook into the stitch. Hook the yarn in the pullable loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the first loop and pull it through the second loop. Put the yarn hard. A slip stitch is done. Round 3 is finished. Now let's start making round 4 and 5, both crocheting by the same yarns. And we will change yarn in the last single crochet in round 5, the same way as before. Now let's start making round 4. First work a chain. A chain is done. In round 4, first work a single crochet. Insert a hook in the first stitch. Work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook into the next stitch. Work an increase. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. An increase is done. In round 4, we need to repeat a set of 2 single crochets, 1 increase for 5 times. The first set. First work a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Work the first single crochet. The second single crochet. 2 single crochets are done, then work an increase. An increase is done. The first set is done. The second set, work 2 single crochets. Two single crochets are done, then work an increase. An increase is done. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 3 sets in the same way. We will skip the repeated parts. 5 sets are done. Now work single crochet. A single crochet is done. Now work slip stitch and mark the stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 4 is finished. Now let's start making round 5. First, work a chain. In round 5, we need to work 24 single crochets. That is to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. Insert a hook in the first stitch. Work the first single crochet. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch. Work the second single crochet. The second single crochet is done. The third single crochet. The fourth single crochet. 4 single crochets are done. Continue work remaining 20 single crochets in the same way. In the last single crochet, stop when there are 2 loops on the hook and it will change yarns. Wrap the yarn around your left hand and it will change yarns. Continue the crocheting yarn around the hook and put yarn's loop on the hook. "24 single crochets are done. Now work a slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 5 is finished. Now let's start making round 6. First, work a chain. We used pink yarns in round 6. And we'll change yarns in the last stitch. In round 6, we need to repeat a set of 3 single crochets, 1 increase for 6 times. The first set. First, work 3 single crochets. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first single crochet. A single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second single crochet. The second single crochet is done. The third single crochet. 3 single crochets are done. Then work an increase. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. The first set is done. The second set. First, work 3 single crochets. Then work an increase. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 4 sets in the same way. We need to work 6 sets in total, and we'll change yarns in the last single crochet. Stop when there are 2 loops on the hook, and we'll change yarns. At the last single crochet, we start change yarns. The yarn is changed. 6 sets are done. Now work a slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 6 is finished. Now let's start making round 7. First, work a chain. In round 7, we need to work 30 single shades. That is to work 1 single shade in every stitch. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first single shade. The first single shade is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second single shade. The second single shade is done, the third single shade. The fourth single shade. 4 single shades are done. Continue work remaining 26 single shades in the same way. We need to work 30 single shades in total. We'll skip the repeated parts. 30 single shades are done. Now work a slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 7 is finished. Now let's start making round 8. First, work a chain. Now work 2 single shades. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first single shade. A single shade is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second single shade. The second single shade is done. Then work an increase. An increase means working 2 single shades in the same stitch. An increase is done. In round 7, now we need to repeat a set of 4 single shades, 1 increase for 5 times. The first set, work 4 single shades. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 single shades are done. Then work an increase. An increase is done. The first set is done. The second set, first work 4 single shades. Then work an increase. An increase is done. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 3 sets in the same way. We need to work 5 sets in total, and we'll skip the repeated parts. 5 sets are done. Now work 2 single shades. At the second single shade, stop when there are 2 loops on the hook. Now we'll change yarns. Wrap the yarn around your hand. Yarn around the hook and put yarns to both loops on the hook. Put a yarn. Second single shade is done. Now work slip stitch in the marked stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 8 is finished. Now let's start making round 9. First, work a chain. In round 9, we need to work 36 single shades. That is to work 1 single shade in every stitch. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first single shade. The first single shade is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second single shade. The second single shade is done. The third single shade. the 4 single crochet. 4 single crochets are done. Continue work remaining 32 single crochets in the same way. We will skip the repeated parts. At the last single crochet, we'll change yarns. At the last single crochet, we start change yarns. The yarn is changed. 36 single crochets are done. Now work slip stitch in the marked stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 9 is finished. Now let's start making round 10. First, work a chain. In round 10, we need to repeat a set of 5 single crochets, 1 increase for 6 times. The first set. First, work 5 single crochets. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second single crochet. The second single crochet is done, the third one, the fourth one, the 5 single crochets. 5 single crochets are done, then work an increase. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. An increase is done. The first set is done. The second set, first work 5 single crochets. Five single crochets are done, then work an increase. An increase is done. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 4 sets in the same way. And change yarns in the last single crochet. We will skip the repeated parts. And we'll change yarns in the last single crochet. Stop when there are 2 loops on the hook. Now we'll change yarns. Wrap the yarn around your left hand. Pinch it with your thumb and a middle finger. Yarn around the hook. Put the yarn's both loops on the hook. The yarn is changed. 6 sets are done. Now work a slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 10 is finished. Now let's start making round 11. Let's zoom in. The V shape is a stitch. This is the front loop of the stitch. This is the next stitch. This is front loop of the next stitch. We don't need to crochet the chain in round 11. In round 11, we'll crochet in the front loops only. Work 42 slip stitches in total. The first slip stitch. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the first loop and pull it through second loop. A slip stitch is done. The V shape is a stitch. Place a marker on it. The same way in here. We don't have to pull it hard. Make the loop larger. The second slip stitch. The second slip stitch is done, the third one. The fourth one. Put a yarn on top of the hook. The fifth one. Organize it. 5 slip stitches are done. Continue work remaining 37 slip stitches in the same way. We need to work 42 slip stitches in total. We'll skip the repeated parts. 42 slip stitches are done. Now work a slip stitch. Work the back loop only. You can see it. This is the back loop. Push the yarn up forward. A slip stitch is done. Round 11 is finished. Now let's start making round 12. First, work a chain. In round 12, we need to work 42 single crochets in the back loop only. Insert a hook in the back loop of the first stitch. Work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch. Work the second single crochet. The second single crochet is done, the third single crochet. The fourth single crochet. Four single crochets are done. Continue work remaining 38 single crochets in the same way. I'll work in the back loop only. We'll skip the repeated parts. 42 single crochets are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 12 is finished. Now let's start making round 13. First, work a chain. In rounds 13 and 14, we both need to work 42 single crochets. That is to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now let's start making round 13. Insert a hook in the first stitch, work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch, work the second single crochet. The second single crochet is done, the third. The fourth. 4 single crochets are done. Continue work remaining 38 single crochets in the same way. We'll skip the repeated parts. 42 crochets are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 13 is finished. Now let's start making round 14. The same way as the round 13. We'll change yarns in the last 14 crochets. Stop when there are 2 loops on the hook. Now we'll change back into the sine yarns. This one, put it on top. The yarn is changed. 42 crochets are done. Now work slip stitch. We put a blue yarn on top of the hook and hide the yarns. A slip stitch is done. Round 14 is finished. Now let's start making round 15. First, work a chain. In round 16, we need to crochet in the front loops to work 42 crochets in total. Insert a hook in the first stitch. Work the first crochet. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch. Work the second crochet. The second crochet is done, the third one. The fourth. 4 crochets are done. Continue work remaining 38 crochets in the same way. We'll skip the repeated parts. Cut off the blue yarn. Leave a part of yarn tail. We change yarns in the last stitch of the round 15. The same way as before. Wrap the yarn around your left hand. The yarn is changed. 42 crochets are done. Remove the marker. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 15 is finished. Now let's start making round 16. First, work a chain. We need to work 42 crochets. That is to work 1 crochet in every stitch. Insert a hook in the first stitch, work the first crochet. The first crochet is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch, work the second crochet. The second crochet is done, the third crochet. The fourth crochet. 4 crochets are done. Continue to work remaining 38 crochets in the same way. We'll skip the repeated parts. And we'll change yarns in the last crochet in round 16. Now change the yarns. The yarn is changed. 42 crochets are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 16 is finished. Now let's start making round 17. First, work a chain. In round 17 and 18, we both need to work 42 single shades. Round 17. Insert a hook into first stitch, work the first single shade. The first single shade is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook into next stitch, work the second single shade. The second single shade is done, the third single shade. The fourth single shade. 4 single shades are done. Continue work remaining 38 single shades in the same way. We will skip the repeated parts. 42 single shades are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 17 is finished. Now let's start making round 18. The same way as round 17. Work 42 single shades. We'll change yarns in the last single shade. Now change the yarns. The yarn is changed. 42 single shades are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 18 is finished. Now let's start making round 19. First, work a chain. In round 19, we need to repeat a set of 5 single shades, 1 decrease for 6 times. A decrease means to combine 2 stitches into 1 stitch, the first set. First, work 5 single shades. Insert a hook in the first stitch, work the first single shade. A single shade is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch, work the second single shade. The third single shade. The fourth. The fifth. 5 single shades are done. Then work a decrease. Let's zoom in. This is a stitch. This is the front loop of this stitch. We need to insert a hook into front loops of 2 adjacent stitches separately. Now I will show you. Insert a hook into front loop of this stitch. Then insert a hook into front loop of the next stitch. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A decrease is done. The first set is done, the second set. Five single shades are done, then work a decrease. Insert a hook into front loops of 2 adjacent stitches separately. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A decrease is done, the second set is done. The third set, work 5 single shades first. 5 crochets are done, then work a decrease. Instead of hooking the front loops of the adjacent stitches separately, there are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A decrease is done, the third set is done. Continue work remaining 3 sets in the same way. We'll skip the repeated parts. Stop when there are 2 loops on the hook. Now we'll change yarns. The yarn is changed. Now work a slip stitch. A slip stitch is done, round 19 is finished. Now let's start making round 20. First, work a chain. Now work 2 crochets. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first crochet. A crochet is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second crochet. 2 crochets are done, then work a decrease. Instead of hooking the front loops of 2 adjacent stitches separately, there are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A decrease is done. In round 20, we need to repeat a set of 4 crochets, 1 decrease for 5 times. First, work 4 crochets. One, 2, 3, 4. 4 crochets are done, then work a decrease. A decrease is done, the first set is done. The second set, first work 4 crochets. Then work a decrease. A decrease is done. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 3 sets in the same way. We'll skip the repeated parts. 5 sets are done. Now work 2 crochets. Two crochets are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 20 is finished. Now let's start making round 21. First, work a chain. In round 21, we need to repeat a set of 3 crochets, 1 decrease for 6 times. The first set, first work 3 crochets. Instead of hooking the first stitch, work the first crochet. The first crochet is done, place a marker on the first stitch. Instead of hooking the next stitch, work the second crochet. The second crochet is done, the third crochet. 3 crochets are done, then work a decrease. A decrease is done. The first set is done. The second set, first work 3 crochets. Three crochets are done, then work a decrease. A decrease is done. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 4 sets in the same way. We'll change yarns in the last single shade. We'll skip repeated parts. Now change yarns. The yarn is changed. 6 sets are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 21 is finished. Now let's start making round 22. First, work a single shade. Insert a hook in the first stitch, work a single shade. The first single shade is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Then work a decrease. A decrease is done. In round 22, we need to repeat a set of 2 single shades, 1 decrease for 5 times. The first set. Two single shades are done, then work a decrease. A decrease is done. The first set is done. The second set, first work 2 single shades. Then work a decrease. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 3 sets in the same way. We'll skip repeated parts. 5 sets are done. Work a single shade. Now change yarns. The yarn is changed. A single shade is done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 22 is finished. Now stuff the filling cotton into the fabric, into this hole. Stuff the filling cotton as much as possible. Finished. In round 23, we need to repeat a set of 1 single shade, 1 decrease for 6 times. First, work a chain. A decrease means to combine 2 stitches into 1 stitch. The first set. Insert a hook in the first stitch, work the first single shade. The first single shade is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Then work a decrease. A decrease is done. The first set is done. The second set, first work single shade. Then work a decrease. The second set is done. Continue work remaining 4 sets in the same way. We'll skip repeated parts. Organize the yarn and cut it off. 6 sets are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 23 is finished. Now let's start making round 22. First, work a chain. In round 22, we need to work 6 decreases. A decrease means to combine 2 stitches into 1 stitch. The first decrease. The first decrease is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. The second decrease. The second decrease is done. Continue work remaining 4 decreases in the same way. We'll skip repeated parts. 6 decreases are done. Now work slip stitch. A slip stitch is done. Round 24 is finished. Leave long yarn tail. Put out the yarn tail. Pass the yarn through the needle and put tie to close. Now we need to pass the needle through the front loops of each stitch of the last round. Now head yarn tail. Insert the needle into here. Then pass it through here. Insert needle into here. Then pass it through here, like this, back and forth. To fix the yarn inside of the fabric. After this, cut off the yarn. The main body of the gift Easter egg is done. Now this video tutorial will teach you how to crochet this bow knot. It has 3 parts: the body, bottom, and the central part. We'll teach you respectively. Finally, assemble them together. Now this video will teach you how to crochet the main body of this bow knot. First, work into a chain. Wrap the yarn around your little finger. Then bring it to your index finger. Pinch where the line crosses with your thumb and the middle finger. Put the yarn on top of the hook. Counterclockwise. I will show you again. Put the yarn on top of the hook. Counterclockwise. There's 1 loop on the hook. Pinch where the line crosses with your thumb and the middle finger. Yarn around the hook. Put the loop on the hook. Organize it. Now let's start making round 1. In round 1, first we need to work 3 chains. The first chain, yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. A chain is done. Let's zoom in. The V shape is a stitch. The second chain, yarn around the hook and put the loop on the hook. The third chain, yarn around the hook and put the loop on the hook. 3 chains are done. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. A single crochet is done. Let's zoom in. The V shape is a stitch. Place a marker on both strands of the V. There's where we insert a hook to start the next stitch, the second single crochet. Insert a hook into a loop on your middle finger. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. A single crochet is done. Round 1 is finished. Now let's turn the fabric around and start making round 2. Turn around again. Now let's start making round 2. First, work a chain. Yarn around the hook and put the loop on the hook. A chain is done. Now we need to work 2 increases. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now let's see it. The V shape is a stitch, and the both strands of the V. Here the same. The first increase. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put the loops on the hook. A single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. And remember to do that on the first stitch of every round. Then insert a hook into the same stitch and work another single crochet. An increase is done. The second increase. Take out the marker. Insert a hook into the next stitch. Work a single crochet first. A single crochet is done, then work another single crochet in the same stitch. The second increase is done. Round 2 is finished. Now let's turn the fabric around and start making round 3. First, work a chain. Yarn around the hook and put the loop on the hook. A chain is done. In round 3, we need to work 4 single crochets. Work the first single crochet. Insert a hook into the first stitch. Work the first single crochet. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. A single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook into the next stitch. Work the second single crochet. A single crochet is done, the third one. The fourth one. Four single crochets are done. Round 3 is finished. Now let's start making round 4. Turn the fabric around. First, work a chain. In round 4, first work a single crochet. Insert a hook into the first stitch. Work the first single crochet. A single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Then insert a hook into the next stitch and work another single crochet. 2 single crochets are done. Then work an increase. Insert a hook into the next stitch. Work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done. Then work another single crochet in the same stitch. The increase is done. Then work another single crochet in the next stitch. A single crochet is done. Round 4 is finished. Now let's turn the fabric around and start making round 5. First, work a chain. From round 5 to 8, we all work a chain and 5 single crochets in each round. Now let's start making round 5. First, work a chain. Then work 5 single crochets. 1. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. 2. 3. 4. 5. Round 5 is finished. Continue work remaining rounds in the same way. We will skip the repeated parts. The same, work a chain first, and then 5 single crochets. Round 8 is done. Now let's count the rounds. This is the first round, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Now let's start making round 9. Turn the fabric around first. First, work a chain. In round 9, work 2 single crochets first. Work the first single crochet. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch. Work the second single crochet. 2 single crochets are done. Then work a decrease. A decrease means to combine 2 stitches into 1 stitch. Let's zoom in. This is a stitch. This is the front loop of this stitch. Here, pick the front loop only. Now I will show you. Insert a hook in the front loop of this stitch. Then insert a hook in the front loop of the next stitch. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A decrease is done. Now work single crochet in a marked stitch. A single crochet is done. Round 9 is finished. Turn the fabric around. Now let's start making round 10. First, work a chain. In round 10, we need to work 2 decreases. The first decrease, pick the front loop only of 2 adjacent stitches. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it to the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hold the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A decrease is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Then work the second decrease. Pick the front loop only of the adjacent stitches. Hold the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hold the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. 2 decreases are done. Turn the fabric around and we start working round 11. First, work a chain. In round 11, we need to work 2 single crochets. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook into the next stitch, work the second single crochet. Two single crochets are done. Round 11 is finished. Now let's start making round 12. First, work a chain. Work 2 increases. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. The first increase. Insert a hook into the first stitch, work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook into the next stitch, work another single crochet. An increase is done. The second increase. Two increases are done. Round 12 is finished. Now let's start making round 13. First, work a chain. In round 13, we need to work 4 single crochets. That is to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. Insert a hook in the first stitch, work the first single crochet. The first single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook in the next stitch, work the second single crochet. The third single crochet. The fourth single crochet. Four single crochets are done. Round 13 is finished. Now let's start making round 14. Turn the fabric around. First, work a chain. Work the first single crochet. Place a marker on the first stitch. Insert a hook into the next stitch, work an increase. An increase means working 2 single crochets in the same stitch. An increase is done. Then work 2 single crochets. 2 single shades are done. Round 14 is finished. Now let's start making round 15. First, work a chain. From round 15 to 18, we work a chain and 5 single shades in every round. Now work 5 single shades. That is, work 1 single shade in every stitch. The first single shade is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Second, third, fourth, fifth. Five single shades are done. Round 15 is finished. Use the same way to start the round 16 to 18. 1 chain and 5 single shades. We'll skip the repeated parts. Round 18 is finished. Now let's turn the fabric around and start making round 19. First, work a chain. Then work 2 single shades. Two single shades are done. Then work a decrease. A decrease means to combine 2 stitches into 1 stitch. A decrease is done. A single shade is done. Round 19 is finished. Now let's start making round 20. Turn the fabric around. First, work a chain. Now work 2 decreases. A decrease is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. The second decrease. Two decreases are done. Round 20 is finished. Now let's start making round 21. Turn the fabric around. First, work a chain. In round 21, we need to work single shade in every stitch. Two single shades are done. Round 21 is finished. Leave part of yarn for sewing, then cut off the yarn. Put out the yarn. The main body of the bow knot is done. Now this video tutorial will teach how to make the bottom of this bow knot, working into a chain. Tie a knot. Put a yarn on top of the hook, counterclockwise. There's one loop on the hook. Pinch where the line crosses with your thumb and the middle finger. Yarn around the hook. Put a yarn loop on the hook. Tighten it. Now let's start making round 1. In round 1, we need to work 15 chains. The first chain, yarn around the hook. Put a yarn loop on the hook. A chain is done. Let's zoom in. The V shape is a chain. The second chain, yarn around the hook and put a loop on the hook. The third one. The fourth. The fifth. 6. 6 chains are done. Continue work remaining 9 chains in the same way. We need to work 15 chains in total. We'll skip the repeated parts. 15 chains are done. We can count it if you're not sure. The V shape is a chain. Work a double crochet in each 5 front loops. Now let's start working the first double crochet. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull the last 2 loops. Let's see it. This is a stitch. Place a marker on it. The second double crochet. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull the last 2 loops. The third one. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are still 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. The third double crochet is done. Continue work remaining 3 double crochets in the same way. Five double crochets are done. First one. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the first loop and pull through second loop. A slip stitch is done. The second slip stitch. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the first loop and pull through second loop. The second slip stitch is done. Now work a double crochet in each 5 chains. The first double crochet. The second double crochet. The third double crochet. Fourth. Fifth. Five double crochets are done. Now work a chain. A chain is done. Now work slip stitch in the next stitch. A slip stitch is done. Put a loop a little bit. Leave a part of yarn and cut it off. Put out the yarn. Pass the yarn through the needle and hide it on back of the fabric. Hide these yarn tails. Like this. We can do this several times. After hiding it, we cut off the yarn. Then use the same way to hide the yarn on back of the fabric, like before. After hiding 2 yarns well, the bottom of the bow knot is done. Now this video tutorial will teach you how to make the bow center, working into a chain. Tie a knot. Put a yarn on top of the hook, counterclockwise. There's 1 loop on the hook. Pinch where the line crosses with your thumb and a middle finger. Yarn around the hook. Put a yarn steel loop on the hook. Organize it. Now let's start making round 1. In round 1, we need to work 11 chains. The first one, yarn around the hook and put your steel loop on the hook. A chain is done. The V shape is a stitch. Place a marker. Second chain. Yarn around the hook and put your steel loop on the hook. Third chain. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. 6 chains are done. Continue work remaining 5 chains in the same way. We need to work 11 chains in total. We'll skip the repeated parts. 11 chains are done. Insert the hook into first stitch. Hook the yarn and pull the loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. A single crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Second, insert the hook into this stitch. Hook the yarn and pull the loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. Second single crochet is done. Third one, hook the yarn and pull the loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook and put both loops on the hook. 3 single crochets are done. Fourth, fifth, five single crochets are done. Continue work remaining 5 single crochets in the same way. We'll need to work 10 single crochets in total. Ten single crochets are done. You can count the stitches if you are not sure. The V shape is a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Leave long yarn tail for sewing. Cut off the yarns. Put out the yarn. The bow center is done. Now assemble them together. Take the body part. Pass the yarn through the needle. Here is the center. Fold 2 sides in. Sew the 2 sides together. Remember to tighten it when sewing. Pull it hard. Then take the bow bottom out. This is the front side. This is the back side. Like this way. Sew the bottom part too. like this. The front side is faced this way. Put it hard when sewing. Fix it into the main body part. After fixing the bottom part, add a yarn on back of the fabric. In this way, fix it well, and then cut off the yarn. Then use the same way to hide this yarn too. Sew the bow bottom into the main body, and then sew the bow center. This is the front side. It faces up, like this. Now let's sewing. Sew them together. Put it hard. Then pass this yarn through the bow node to this side. Organize it. The bow node is done. Now let's sew the bow node into the main body. Find the right position, here. We can tell its difference from the other part. As here is the center, sew the bow node in here. Now let's start sewing. Pass the needle through the main body and come into this side. And then we pass the bow node again. Pick the back side of the fabric. Fix the position. And then we pass the bow node again. Fix on it. Remember to pull it hard when sewing, in order to fix it well, and then pass it through the bottom. Fix the bow bottom well too. Then sewing another side. Organize it. Form it well. Now add a yarn. Pass the yarn through here. And pass the needle out in anywhere. After hiding, cut it off. Cut off the yarn tail. Hide this yarn too. Pass the yarn through the needle. And pass the needle through here. Make sure that it won't be seen. Now head a yarn tail the same way as before. Cut off the yarn. The gift Easter egg is finished.